Hey, what's up everybody, Nexel here. Today we are playing Kingdom Hearts Union Cross and we're going to be doing two tests today. So the first test is something that we talked about the other day, where we have a medal that normally costs 0 gauges to use its special attack, and then you give it something like Attack Boost 5 Max SP Gauge 1. Luckily I was able to draw this, so I didn't waste a skill and I didn't waste a nominate, it just came this way. So this is what we're going to be using to test, and we will be copying a Rai, which has 0 gauge cost, it doesn't heal, it doesn't do anything but attack. So this should be a good estimation of what happens. And then we're going to follow that up with what happens if you have that same medal, but it's on a copy medal, and then you're going to copy something that heals gauges. So let's go ahead and run both those tests right now and just see what kind of happens. So in my videos, I was saying, regardless of the gauge cost, it could be less than the amount on the skill will still take away those gauges. So let's do that first test, and I know a lot of people have already said, well, this is well established. You know, I really think there needs to be some proof of that, something that someone can watch out there. So here we go. We're going to use the nominate. Again, it costs 0 gauges to use normally, but it has an Attack Boost 5 Max SP Gauge 1. So as you can see, we went from 22 gauges to 21 gauges. So regardless of the fact that the nominate originally only cost 0 gauges to use, because of the skill, we still lost a gauge there. So just keep that in mind for if you're trying to do something like put an Attack Boost 8 Max SP Gauge 2 on something that only costs 1 gauge to use. Regardless of if that original medal only costs 1 gauge to use the special attack, the skill is still going to strip away 2 gauges, even though that's more than what you would have originally paid for. So keep that in mind. We're going to run our second test now. What happens when you use it on a copy medal? So an SP skill on a copy medal, but you're copying something that heals. So we have to waste some gauges first before we can actually say what happens, because if we start at max gauges, it might not be exactly as accurate as we want it to be. So unfortunately, I only have a bunch of things that cost 0 gauges or heal. Here we go. We'll use our Supernova Key Art 19 that we got the other day. So we are down to max gauges. Unfortunately, the test didn't work the way I wanted it to. So let's go ahead and just run it, see what happens. So as you can see, we lost the gauge from the SP Gauge 1 that was on the skill, but the heal kicked in after it, so we regained that gauge back. So that is really the only scenario where I could think it's okay to have a medal with 0 gauge cost with an SP skill on it, because you're going to copy something that's going to heal the gauge anyways. So with that being said, that's the end of this very short video, just kind of explaining what happens with like that kind of scenario where the medal's original special attack cost is less than the SP skill that you put on it originally. If there are any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to drop them down in the comments below, and I'd be happy to answer when I have time. But as always, everyone, until the next time, take it easy.